Hey, it's Friday, everybody. How you doing? Great to see you. I am so glad that you are here with us on Daily Distinction. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Man, yesterday was a great show. I'm still on still walking a little bit off the ground. Jay Bear joined us yesterday. If you haven't seen it, it's still up. You can still see it. Jay Bear joined us yesterday. What a terrific guest he was. What a great show, and a lot of viewers. So really glad that you watched. Thanks again, Jay Bear, for joining yesterday. We got an interesting topic today. It's on what seems to be the quality that is most missing as we go through this time of turmoil and change and difficulty. I think there is a single quality that we need most, that is most missing. So that's what we're going to talk about today on today's Daily Distinction. Hey, Scott, I'm having a terrific Friday. I hope that you're doing well, and thank you as always for being here. Brian, it's not a show unless you're here. Thank you for watching from Wisconsin. We're going to rock it. And Pam, same with you. Hello to Fishers, Indiana. Glad that you are here. And Silicon Valley checks in with Charles Coastman once again, my friend. Man, you are all over it on social media, and I really appreciate you being here as always. By the way, again, I always forget to say this at the beginning of the show. And that is, please share, because that will get more people watching the live version of the show. So if you'll just take a moment, just click there where it says share, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. We got folks watching on Twitter, I see. So thank you for doing that. Please just take a moment and share so we can get some more folks in with a live edition, or even most of our viewers watch on replay. So if you're watching on replay, would you please share the show, because that's how we continue to grow and expand the audience, which is really, really important. And I appreciate that. And Curtis, as always, man, Curtis, I keep meaning to mention mention every day to you over in Kingman. I love the Blue Angels over the Statue of Liberty. That is your profile picture. Man, that rocks. That is just so cool. So great to see you over in Kingman. Many years ago, I got to tell you a quick Kingman story. Many years ago, my late wife, Sherry, and I, we moved here. We moved to California, then we moved over here and to Vegas. And at that time, Kingman, Arizona was the closest Cracker Barrel. So on two different occasions, we drove from Vegas to Kingman to eat at Cracker Barrel. So glad that Kingman brings back memories, because we've made that trek. Hey, Ted, it's always great to see you, my friend. Happy Friday to you as well. Glad that you are here. And Don, thank you. Character, inner knowledge, understanding of the difference between the opportunity to compare to other nations. Yeah, we're very fortunate. That's part of what I'm going to be talking about in just a minute, Don. You are on target. Thank you very, very much for that. By the way, a reminder too, Distinction Nation is where all the free resources are to help you stand out from the crowd, whatever it takes to help you stand out in your career, stand out in your business. There are free resources available. All you need to do is go sign up at Distinction Nation. There's even a 14-day audio course. You just listen to one segment every day for 14 days. It walks you through the process of identifying and analyzing your priorities, your goals, and your daily activities. It's all right there at Distinction Nation. Also, don't forget that Distinction Radio, you can listen to 24/7. It's really cool. All you got to do is listen to it, and you can get it on your Amazon device. All you need to do is to say, Alexa, I don't want to say it too loud because your device and my device will pick it up. Play Distinction Radio, and it will. So there you go. So this is kind of a tough topic to talk about today. There's so much happening in the world and so much going on. What an incredible world we're in. I've had two conference calls. It's noon here in Las Vegas. I've had two conference calls today. The first one was with a friend not too far from Charlotte, North Carolina. And the second was with a business associate, somebody we're working on a business together in Amsterdam. Is that crazy? I mean, from Vegas to Charlotte to Amsterdam, and that's just this morning. The world that we live in is so different and so changing and so amazing, and it's just the way it is right now. I remember, I sound like my dad walking to school here, but I remember getting in trouble as a kid because I made too many long distance phone calls. right? Back then, long distance cost a lot of money. Now we don't think anything about, we take our iPhone and we'll call anywhere in the world, right? Because we can. It's just there. The world has remarkably changed. Hey, Mike, thank you very much. And Curtis, wow, thank you for your service, sir. Thank you so much for your service. I totally get why you'd love the Blue Angels there. Who doesn't, right? But what I'm seeing, and I know what you're watching on television, is profoundly disturbing. When we see how people are treating each other, please understand that in our family, as I was growing up, some of our best friends were law enforcement officers. There was a state policeman named Wayne Hall that lived in Crothersville, and I went to high school with his daughters, Mary Lou and Susan. Great, super person. Tom Acton was another friend of my dad's and friend of our family. He was a state policeman in Indiana. When I received an award from FFA, we drove up to Purdue University, and it was my mom, my dad, me, and our great family friend, Sergeant Ritchie. By the way, I always thought that was so cool. His real first name was Sergeant. So he was Sergeant Ritchie. So we have deep friendships with police officers. We have deep friendships with the good folks of law enforcement. And to see what we're seeing now is troubling. A few years ago, I was in Louisville. Tammy and I were at an event in Louisville. And because of the event, we were running late for our reservation for dinner. And gosh, there's a parking spot right in front of the restaurant. So we parked, we hustled in, we met the other couple, we started dinner. And as we're sitting at the table, I looked out and there was a police car with the lights on by my car. I thought, oh my God, so I go out, and as I walked out, there was a no parking sign I absolutely did not see. We were in such a hurry to get in the restaurant and get to dinner. I parked, and it was a sign that the curb was not marked. I probably would have noticed, if the curb had been red or yellow or whatever, but the curb wasn't painted. It was just a sign. And I completely spaced it. My fault, 1,000%. So I go out, and the officer is in his car, but he's writing a ticket, and I'm just so embarrassed. And I said, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. I'm from Indianapolis. I'm out of town. I parked here. I didn't even see the sign. I'm so sorry. And the first thing the guy said was, they don't, F word, teach you to read in Indianapolis. And I was dumbfounded. I wasn't trying to get out of a ticket. I'm just embarrassed that I'd done the wrong thing. And I said, I'll take the ticket. I'll move the car. I'm so sorry. He said, yeah, I know you're going to take the ticket, and you're going to move the effing car. I was just astounded, because all of my relationships with police officers had been these wonderful men who were so professional and so great and friends of our family and so good. And I was dumbfounded that someone in that position would talk that way with no reason at all. And so I see these things, and I understand that there is a quality that we all need. And by the way, I don't mean to be, I'm not being, the purpose of this is not to unload on police officers in the least. But Chris Rock had a really interesting observation the other day. And I will get the wording right, and I promise you, I'm not going to quote it word for word. But he said, there are the vast majority of fabulous police officers, and there are a few bad apples. But the problem is, there are certain professions that can't have bad apples. Then he went on to say, could you imagine if American Airlines said 99% of our pilots are great, but 1% of our pilots just fly in the mountains. But please understand that 99% of us are great. That's unacceptable. We wouldn't accept that, right? It's got to be 100%, right? It's got to be 100% that's good. And we got to weed out those that aren't. Doctors and surgeons would love to get rid of bad doctors and surgeons, but yet they don't speak up for fear of reprisal, whether it's legal or whatever. And I'm as guilty as anybody. You know why? Because I know speakers that are horrible human beings that advertise and will take your money to buy their program or their speech or go to their seminar or whatever, and you don't get value from it, and they are despicable human beings. And I will grant you that I don't say who they are for fear of reprisal, legal and social media and otherwise. But at some point, we got to say enough is enough. At some point, we have to say, so it gets back to a particular quality. It's a quality that I continue to look for in my personal life and my professional life. And there's times I don't do it right and that, but it's one that I want to talk to you about for just a few minutes here today. And I'll tell you what that is. You probably guess what it is, but I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. I just want to catch up with, man, my best buddy, Marilyn, used to drive 3 hours with kids. I know Cracker Barrel is addictive, isn't it? Hey, Sonia, I was talking about you a couple days ago. I don't know if you heard it because I didn't see that you were here, but I'm so proud of you for getting rid of toxic customers. That is so good. Hey, Jim, good to see you. You're now Texans on June 15th. Look forward to seeing you, getting over there. So thank you for that. Hey, Lisa, I'm so glad that you're here. And Bonnie, golly, I haven't seen you for a few days. I'm so glad you're here, and things are growing and changing with what you're doing there, I'm sure. So love to catch up on how things are with you. Okay, so here's the quality that I think that's most missing today, and that's just the sense of humility. Sense of humility. Why did the protesters respond so much giving in? It's not because they were perceived to be weak. It's that they brought a sense of humility to the situation. Have you seen the video of the officer in Buffalo that pushes the person who cracks his skull? That wasn't a humble servant. That wasn't a humble person. And even worse than that is the officer that wanted to help the guy out, and the other police officer grabs him and makes him keep moving because he doesn't want him to stop to help out this person that's on the ground. That's not a humble servant. I think in every profession, whether it's a police officer or an author speaker or a surgeon, how many humble surgeons have you met? I think we all need a healthy dose of humility. It is not weakness. Humility is not weakness. You know, I try to be humble. I want to be a humble person. But there have been times in business situations where I've gotten, I've drawn the line and I've gotten very specific and very precise and very solid in what I'm saying. And sometimes aggressive. And people, they just can't believe it. I think because they assume that if you're a humble person, it means you're weak. And I think that's what we need to be teaching, is that humility is not weakness. Humility is not weakness. Humility is simply a modest view of one's own importance. It's being humble. It's realizing the world doesn't revolve around you. It's willing to take a modest view of your own importance. In some of my books, I've talked about what's called mall cop syndrome. And we all know the mall cop, the person that has no authority, Paul Blart. They've made movies about it, with Kevin James. The person that all of a sudden they get a little bit of power and they get a little bit of authority and it goes to their head. Now they got to tell everybody what to do. That's not humility. That's humility is a sign of strength. It is not a sign of weakness. Yeah, Charles, it was. It was just a terrible situation. United breaks guitars, Jim. That was one where they didn't deliver. Humility needs. You nailed it, Jim. It often means we need to be quiet and be a better listener. It's so true. So what is humility? You know, we all have our respective personal and religious beliefs, and so I don't quote the Bible on this program, but I'm gonna quote the Bible. You might even say this is from antiquity. So if you're not a believer, it's okay. This is not about that. This is about what was said thousands of years ago. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom. Maybe because the humble listen a little bit more. Maybe because the humble care more about what other people think. Maybe because the humble don't feel like they always need to be in charge or to be the boss. Unfortunately, Brian, yeah, I think that's the viewpoint that a lot of folks have. Humility is for others and entitlements for oneself. We see that so much today. You're so right. You are so right. See, I think assertiveness is congruent with humility, because part of what we assert with humility is that everyone has an equal right to be heard. Everyone has an equal right to be heard. That's humility. That I have a right to be heard, but my right to be heard is no more important than everyone else's right to be heard. I have a right to say what I think, but it's no more important than when someone else. Now, what I see, this is part of where people get messed up, right? I love the line that everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but they're not entitled to their own set of facts, right? I mean, if someone says the earth is flat, they have every right to state that opinion, but it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's a fact, but I will defend their right to say it. But you and I have to be smart enough to know it ain't true, right? I mean, but they do have a right the right to say it doesn't mean the assumption of accuracy. Jim Rohn had this great line about, I hope you will find me sincere, but please don't accept what I say as truth because of sincerity. Judge sincerity on sincerity scales and judge truth on truth scales. Let us not fall into the trap of saying he must be correct. He's so sincere. Isn't that good? Isn't that powerful? Judge sincerity on sincerity scales. Judge truth on truth scales. Yeah, Jeffrey, that's absolutely on target. How brilliant. Part of it is being of service without the expectation of reward or acknowledgement. I want to be of service, but I don't expect to be honored for it. I love some of these anonymous gifts, because when we gift something anonymously, it means we don't care about the credit, right? The old Mac Davis song, Bruce, you got it. It's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. Oh, that's a great one. That's a great one. But humility is important without acknowledging that you're no more or less important. By the way, humility also says I'm no less important than other people. Got that? It's not saying it's obviously saying I'm not more important than other people, but we got to remember that humility doesn't mean that you say you're less important than other people as well. But when you realize that you're no more or less important, then you realize everyone has an equal right to be heard. And we desire to listen to others openly. So what does it take to be humble? What does it take to practice humility? I came up with 5 things. Here are the 5 things that I think we all need to do to practice humility. If I may be so humble as to propose my 5 steps to humility. There's kind of the irony isn't lost on me that I am telling you the 5 things you need to do to stay humble, right? But here's 5 steps to humility, and this is the first one is so important. Spend more time listening. Spend more time listening. One of the things that I hope is not lost in all this, whether we're talking about the situation with racism and relationships there, or whether we're talking about the pandemic and COVID-19. One of the things I hope that's not lost is when you listen, you should also learn. I'm not talking about hearing. Hearing is the physical function that the words that I say are transmitted through this microphone over the internet to your laptop or phone or computer, and the sound waves come out of that hits your eardrums, that then is translated into language that you understand. That's hearing. Listening means comprehension. In other words, hearing is a physical act. Listening is active because it requires our attention and it requires our focus. Listening is active. And so if it's active, we could also assume that along the way, we might learn something, right? And so if you learn something, it should also mean you might change your mind. I hate it in political campaigns where I know there are some politicians that they put their finger to the wind or whatever the polls say, then they'll change their opinion to meet what the polls say. I don't like that. But I also don't want someone that is so arrogant they believe the first decision they made is the only decision they could possibly make. If you learn more about something, why wouldn't your opinion grow and shift and be altered? Why wouldn't you change your mind if you're a humble learner and you discover there might be a better way? Shouldn't we all be about that? It also means we have to be forgiving of people who used to think one way and now they think another because they learned and they grew through their active listening and through their sense of humility. We've got to be waiting to learn, right? We've got to be, yeah, Charles, exactly. Some people, they call it listening and all they're doing is waiting for a gap so they can jump in and tell you what they think. Right? That's not listening. That is hearing. Second step to humility is to practice the attitude of gratitude. Are you grateful? I mean, are you grateful? Do you take a minute and just be grateful for what you have? And my grandmother used to say, if you're not grateful for what you got, be thankful for what you don't got. Not great English, but it's a great philosophy. Maybe you don't have cancer. Maybe you don't have challenges that other people are facing. You don't have a physical infirmity. You don't have relatives in jail. You don't have, whatever it might be. Man, if you can't take time to be thankful for what you have, at least take time to be thankful for what you don't have. Right? Practice the attitude of gratitude. I will promise you, from the day that she's passed away to today, there has not been a day that I did not think that this day was a gift that my first wife, Sherry, didn't get. It's a gift. What I do with this day is up to me, but I have been blessed with a day of life that someone I cared so much about didn't get. I'm thankful for that every single day. And I'm regretful that it took something like that to get me to the point that I thought of it every day. The day was a gift in and of itself. Practice that attitude of gratitude because it's one of the steps to maintain your humility. Yeah, and Sonia, a grateful heart is a great gift. It's so true. Oh, I haven't seen that yet, Deborah. But Robert Stack is what a terrific guy. I'll check that out. NSA, by the way, stands for National Speakers Association, and so I will check that out. Jeff, you're right. We do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. As soon as they stop talking, I can tell you what I think about that. Right? You nailed it, my friend. That is exactly it. Here's the third thing: seek feedback. Humble folks want your feedback. Now, Just because you give them feedback doesn't mean they're going to do what you said. Right? I mean, I'll seek feedback. There might be a reason you might say, well, have you thought about this? Maybe I have thought about it. Maybe I don't think it would work. But I need to be getting feedback. The person giving the feedback can't assume that just because you say it means they're going to do it or that they should do it. But the humble person asks for feedback. Next, the humble person isn't shy about asking for help. Sometimes, and I think it's part of how, my only experience growing up, obviously, is growing up as a guy. It's not that I'm trying to be, sexist in saying this. I'm speaking from the only experience I have. That's all I mean by this. And I think that many times guys are taught, don't ask for help, do it yourself. Good grief, how much has Home Depot and Lowe's made over the years by folks convincing themselves that they can do it themselves? Now, in some cases, we certainly can. And in other cases, we should have called the plumber first. Right? But the humble aren't shy about asking for help. And you know what I've learned in my life is that if you're sincere, people love to help. What they don't want is to help someone that doesn't appreciate it or someone that's asking only because they think they should. Don't be shy about asking for help, because people who help, when you help someone or when you accept help from someone, it's a gift that gives in both directions. Because when we help someone who sincerely appreciates it and wants it, it makes us feel better, as well as the person that we've helped. So as humble people, let's not be shy about asking for help. And then finally, let's honestly review our actions. I wonder what those cops in Minneapolis are feeling today. I wonder if they're honestly just ashamed and gobsmacked of what they did. Or I wonder if they're trying to rationalize what they did because they can't honestly review their actions. I wonder about someone here in Las Vegas that shot a police officer. Are they honestly reviewing their actions, or are they trying to figure out how they can get out of it? A humble person, sometimes life has a way of humbling us as well. Have you noticed that? Sometimes when we think the world is our oyster, life has a way of humbling us. Depending on how you believe, it's God's way or karma's way or the universe's way of giving us that little slap to the face or kick to the seat of our pants that we need to take us down a notch or two. What if we did that before the universe had to smack us? What if we honestly reviewed our actions? It's a way to help us stay humble. So the 5 points of humility I'm going to suggest to you again: spend more time listening, practice the attitude of gratitude, seek feedback, honest and open feedback from others. Don't be shy about asking for help, and then honestly review your actions to make certain that the actions match how you feel and what you think. I appreciate that, Joe. Looking forward to talking to you a little later on this afternoon as well. Thanks, everybody. Let's stay humble. Let's approach what's going on with the humility so that we can continue to learn and continue to understand that while we have every right to our opinion, it is no worse or no better. Our opinion might be more well-formed. It might be closer to the truth. But our right to express that opinion is no more or less than anyone else's. When we have the humility and the respect for others that help us grow, then we grow as a nation, we grow as a culture, we grow as a society. I want to be humble enough to participate in that. And I hope you are too. That does it for Daily Distinction for today. I humbly thank you for taking time to watch. My favorite half hour of the day. And I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. I'm here every day, 7 days a week while we're going through this. Let's do it. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks for your kind comments. I truly appreciate it. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow on Daily Distinction.